Run for it.
Come on. Lock the door back there.
This shocking escape, all captured on video, took place in September of 2020 when Nicholas Garrison, who had been arrested on felony possession charges, arrived in court for what was supposed to be a routine sentencing hearing. The footage shows Nicholas calmly walking into the courtroom before suddenly making a run for it, slipping away from the officers who were escorting him. Chaos erupts as multiple officers chase after him, attempting to block his path while he darts through a side door in a desperate attempt to get away. As Nicholas races down a staircase, one of the pursuing officers tries to grab hold of him, but the momentum pulls the officer over the railing, sending him crashing down the remaining steps in a violent fall. The officer's fall turned out to be far more serious than it initially looked. He was rushed to the hospital and treated for several broken ribs, injuries that required time to heal, although he was ultimately expected to make a full recovery.
Did a search warrant of the residence where he was staying with her, and she was arrested for the child endangerment at that point.
Meanwhile, Nicholas successfully fled the courthouse and immediately went into hiding, turning what should have been a straightforward sentencing into a manhunt. What makes the situation even more unbelievable is the fact that he was only facing a maximum sentence of 1 year and likely would have received a lighter punishment due to his cooperation during the trial. Instead, he chose to gamble everything, turning a relatively lenient outcome into a far more serious situation simply by trying to outrun the law. A man from Louisville, Kentucky was caught on a courtroom camera attempting a desperate escape shortly after receiving his sentence. He had originally been jailed on a domestic violence charge and was brought before the judge to learn his fate. Although he seemed reasonably calm during the proceeding and appeared to accept the outcome, everything changed the moment officers began escorting him out of the room. Without warning, he suddenly sprinted toward the exit, breaking free from both officers in a burst of adrenaline. His escape attempt, however, lasted barely 3 seconds before another officer tackled him to the ground. Even after being subdued, the man continued to resist, thrashing against the officers and even shoving one of them in the face as they struggled to restrain him. The situation escalated so quickly that the officers shouted for someone to bring a taser, preparing to use it if necessary. Eventually, the man gave up the fight and was taken back into custody. Shockingly, he might have only served a relatively small sentence for the original domestic violence charge. But his split-second decision to run and his physical assault on an officer now means he'll be facing additional, far more serious charges. This shocking courtroom escape took place in Russia, where a man was standing trial for taking the life of his own sister. According to his confession, he claimed he had been driven to commit the act after being coerced by Satan, a statement that only added to the disturbing nature of the case. After admitting to the crime, he was arrested and kept in jail while awaiting trial. When the day finally arrived, the man sat inside a reinforced metal cage, a security measure reserved for some of the most dangerous offenders. Throughout the hearing, he repeatedly taunted and mocked the officers guarding him, showing no remorse for his actions.
Давай. Присядь. Давай поговорить, присядь. кнопку нажмите, блядь. Нажмите, никуда. Нажми, блядь.
Куда нажать? Дайте руку.
Сейчас, я тебе дам руку. Да.
Блядь, меня
Спустись, блядь.
Куда?
Ко мне, блядь.
Все.
Сука,
Все, я отпускаю.
я тебе дам сказать.
Я отпускаю.
Ты чё, дурак же?
Открывайте, зайдите в клетку, блядь.
Башка, давай быстро слазим.
Борис, ну одевай. Сейчас одевай.
These heavy-duty cages are normally used only for extremely violent criminals, so it was no surprise that authorities kept him locked inside during the proceedings. However, the man was thin enough to slip through the narrow spaces between the bars. After failing to escape through the door, he managed to push his way through the top of the cage, attempting to disappear into the ceiling above the courtroom. An officer quickly grabbed his leg as he tried to pull himself up, holding onto him until backup rushed into the room. He was tased, restrained, and taken back into custody, now facing an even harsher prison sentence due to his attempted escape. A man named Rayton Woodford found himself back in court after being previously charged with possessing an illegal substance and a weapon. Although he was found guilty, the court showed leniency by allowing him to serve his sentence on probation rather than behind bars. However, Rayton ultimately violated the terms of that probation, landing him once again before a judge. During this second hearing, a witness was called to testify. After answering the necessary questions, the witness stepped down, but the courtroom camera remained fixed on the now empty chair. As the judge read Rayton's new sentence off screen, everything appeared routine until Rayton suddenly decided to bolt. In the background, the judge could be heard reacting in a calm, almost disappointed tone, saying, "Oh, come on," as Rayton sprinted for the exit.
Come on. Lock the door back there.
It didn't take long for officers to catch up with him. Within moments, he was tackled, restrained, and brought back into the courtroom, now heading into police custody to face additional charges for his attempted getaway. The suspect was in court on a probation violation charge, and it quickly became apparent that he had no intention of going to jail quietly. A 25-year-old Hamilton man had appeared in a Fairfield courtroom after violating his probation. Moments earlier, he had been sentenced to 90 days behind bars. The courtroom footage shows bailiffs escorting him into a back room, everything seeming routine. But just 25 seconds later, the situation took a shocking turn. Here's what happened next. Four teenagers had been housed in a juvenile court facility while waiting to be transferred to an adult prison. As the seconds tick by, the surveillance footage shows the first teen stepping out of the elevator, 16-year-old Decoria Wright, who is facing murder charges. Just behind him is 15-year-old Calvin House. Then the camera captures 17-year-old Morris Marsh, also charged with murder, who seems disoriented at first, running in the wrong direction. When 17-year-old Brandon Carruthers finally exits the elevator, Marsh quickly realizes what's happening and follows the others. At this point, 3 of the teens are still wearing their work detail shirts. A juvenile detention supervisor admitted that the 4 had been left unsupervised for a brief moment while they were assigned to cleaning duty.
What happened was they were spot cleaning, and they used the staff name, and they got on the elevator. And from there, they just played it as the staff name and just, took off from there.
Wright immediately takes the lead, guiding the others up a stairwell and into a public section of the building. He moves with purpose, clearly knowing the route to an escape. Moments later, Wright bursts through the facility's front doors, with Carruthers, House, and finally, Marsh close behind him, wasting no time. Outside security footage then shows them shedding their work detail shirts one by one before disappearing into the night. This escape attempt took place in the same juvenile facility as the previous incident, though the footage was recorded 2 years earlier. Despite the time difference, the situation is eerily similar. Another teen trying to break free from a building that already seemed to struggle with basic security. It's unclear what was happening inside this facility at the time, but the number of escape attempts makes it obvious that stronger security measures were desperately needed. If a more dangerous or violent offender had managed to get out, the consequences could have been far more serious. In the video, staff members can be seen scrambling to track the teen as he climbs above the ceiling tiles, attempting to use the rafters to escape. Several staff members position themselves directly beneath him, anticipating that he won't be able to stay up there for long. The tiles and metal beams aren't built to support a person's weight, and it doesn't take much time before one of his feet punches through the ceiling. Still determined, the teen continues crawling forward while the guards jump up, trying to grab his legs each time they break through the tiles. He manages to move a little farther, but the structure eventually gives way beneath him. He crashes down onto the floor, where guards immediately rush in, restraining him and taking him into custody. This failed escape not only ended painfully, but almost certainly resulted in additional charges and a much longer sentence. This footage is deeply concerning, as it highlights just how easily an inmate can slip away when a courtroom holding area becomes overcrowded. In the video, the man had just been sentenced and was being escorted by officers into a holding section near the courtroom. Due to the cramped conditions, he managed to tuck himself into a narrow corridor while the officers were momentarily distracted. Seizing the opportunity, he quietly turned around and walked right back through the courtroom doors as if nothing were out of the ordinary. He then moved calmly through the courtroom, taking off his shirt so he could conceal the handcuffs on his wrists. Leaving his prison-issued shoes behind, he exited the building with surprising ease. The escapee then strolled through the courthouse halls and out the front door, blending in just enough to avoid immediate detection. By the time officers realized he was missing, he had already made it a short distance away. Fortunately, deputies caught up with him quickly and took him back into custody. A deputy later described the entire situation as human error, explaining that the security cameras had no visibility of the small corridor where the inmate had been hiding, allowing him to walk right out the front door unnoticed. Newly released security camera footage shows 28-year-old Eddie Villa Lobos fleeing a courthouse in Oregon just moments after his handcuffs and leg restraints were removed. Villa Lobos had been preparing to stand trial on multiple felony charges, including second-degree murder, in connection with the 2021 fatal stabbing of 33-year-old Artemio Guzman Olvera. Two deputies from the court security unit were assigned to escort Villa Lobos to the courthouse and remain with him throughout the trial. However, Oregon law prohibits restraining a defendant in front of a jury or potential jurors in order to prevent prejudice against the accused. As the deputies removed Villa Lobos' wrist and leg restraints before potential jurors returned to the courtroom, he suddenly leapt over a nearby chair and sprinted for the exit. The deputies immediately gave chase, but Villa Lobos managed to evade capture, sparking a 2-hour manhunt. During the search, deputies received a tip from a local resident who reported seeing an adult male trying to break into an apartment directly beneath theirs. Responding to the call, deputies entered the apartment and found Villa Lobos hiding under a blanket inside a closet. He was taken back into custody and returned to Washington County Jail. Later that same afternoon, a grand jury added to Villa Lobos' legal troubles by indicting him on 2 counts of first-degree burglary and 1 count of second-degree escape. In Dayton, Ohio, an inmate waiting in a holding area before her court appearance attempted a daring and unusual escape. Jessica Boomershine, facing multiple charges for violent crimes, including kidnapping, assault, and aggravated robbery, was accompanied by her accomplice, Billy Joe Farah. The pair had previously robbed an elderly man in his home, forced him into his truck, made him withdraw cash from an ATM, and then left him at a waste facility. Surveillance footage from the holding area shows Boomershine sitting on a stool in front of a video monitor. After a few moments, she stands and begins tugging on the monitor to see if it can support her weight. She then grabs one of the plastic chairs scattered around the room and climbs onto the monitor, clearly attempting to reach the ceiling above. Her actions immediately draw the attention of other inmates. With one clapping and another jumping up and down in excitement. Officers quickly respond, but Boomershine continues her climb, eventually pulling herself up into the ceiling tiles. As she hangs precariously, debris begins to fall, and one officer even points what appears to be a taser at her. In a chaotic moment, the officer attempting to pull her down accidentally pulls down her pants, adding to the bizarre scene. Eventually, the ceiling tiles give way completely, and Boomershine falls into a trash can below. She is immediately restrained, handcuffed, and checked by medical personnel, suffering only minor injuries. Boomershine did not appear in court that day, unsurprisingly, and when she returned, she faced additional escape and vandalism charges. Ultimately, she entered a guilty plea to all counts and, in 2021, was sentenced to 25 to 30 years in prison for her role in the kidnapping and robbery plot. Her accomplice, Billy Joe Farah, received a harsher sentence of 55 to 60 years.